Harry just bought a stock for $8 a share and thinks he scored a bargain. Meanwhile, Apple's sitting at $210 and he calls it way too expensive. But here's the brutal truth. Harry's $8 stock? It's overpriced, and Apple might actually be undervalued. This one mistake is draining investor portfolios faster than inflation, taxes, or bad luck combined. And if you think low price equals good deal, you might be falling into the exact same trap. Stick around, because I'm going to break down how pros actually tell if a stock is cheap or expensive, and why price per share is just financial theater. This is the single biggest mistake that's destroying wealth-building strategies across the country. And if you don't understand why Harry got this backwards, you're probably making the same error with your own financial planning. But stick with me for the next few minutes, because I'm going to show you the exact framework that separates investors who build financial independence from those who just don't. Because here's what nobody tells you about stock prices. The price per share means absolutely nothing. Zero. It's financial theater. Think about it this way. If I take a $100 bill and tear it into 10 pieces, each piece isn't worth $10. It's worth $10 only if those pieces represent equal ownership of that original $100. Stocks work exactly the same way. When you're buying a stock, you're not buying a lottery ticket. You're buying a tiny slice of an actual business. And the only way to know if that slice is expensive or cheap is to figure out what the whole business is actually worth. So how do we actually do this? How do we separate the expensive stocks hiding behind low prices from the genuine deals? There are 3 methods that professional portfolio managers use, and I'm going to walk you through each one using real companies with real numbers from 2025, the same companies Harry should have analyzed. Method 1, the PE ratio, your first reality check. The price-to-earnings ratio is like asking, if I bought this entire company today, how many years would it take to earn back my capital investment? Formula, stock price divided by earnings per share equals PE ratio. Let's use Apple, the stock Harry thought was too expensive. Right now, Apple's trading around $211 per share. Their earnings per share over the last 12 months? About $6.42. $211 divided by 6.42 equals roughly 33. So Apple's PE ratio is 33. That means if Apple maintained current earnings, it would take 33 years to earn back your investment. Now let's look at Tesla. Tesla's trading around $310 per share, but their earnings per share? Only about $1.75. $310 divided by $1.75 equals roughly 177. Tesla's PE ratio is 177. At current earnings, it would take 177 years to earn back your capital gains. Think of it like buying a rental property. If you buy a house for $300,000 and it generates $10,000 in annual rental income, it would take you 30 years to earn back your investment through rent alone. That's essentially what a PE ratio of 30 means. Now imagine buying that same house for $300,000, but it only generates $1,700 in annual rent. It would take you 177 years to earn back your money. That's Tesla's situation right now. But here's where it gets interesting for your investment strategy. A high PE ratio isn't automatically bad. It just means investors are betting on future growth. Tesla's PE of 177 says, we think Tesla's earnings are going to explode higher. Apple's PE of 33 says, we think Apple will grow, but more steadily. The key is context for risk management. You need to compare PE ratios to the company's own history, industry averages, market conditions. Right now, the S&P 500's average PE is around 25 to 29. That's about 60 to 70% higher than the historical average of 16 to 17. This suggests the overall market is expensive by historical standards. But here's the critical insight Harry missed for his retirement planning. Method 2, the DCF method. What's it really worth? PE ratios tell you what investors are paying, but they don't tell you what the company is actually worth for long-term investing. That's where discounted cash flow analysis comes in. This is how Warren Buffett values businesses, and it's the closest thing we have to scientific fundamental analysis. The DCF formula, simplified: future cash flows divided by 1 plus the discount rate to the power of years equals present value. I know that looks scary, but stay with me. This is Value Investing 101. Think of DCF like evaluating a vending machine business. You're not just looking at this year's profits. You're asking, If I buy this vending machine for $5,000, how much cash will it generate over the next 10 years? Maybe it makes $800 this year, $850 next year, $900 the year after. You add up all those future cash flows, but since money today is worth more than money tomorrow, you discount each year's cash flow. If the total comes to $6,000 in today's dollars, but the machine costs $5,000, you've got a good deal. Let's say Harry's $8 stock generates $0.50 per share in cash flow annually, and we expect 5% growth per year. Using a 10% discount rate, because we want a margin of safety, that stock is worth about $8.30 per share. Harry paid $8 for something worth $8.30. Not terrible, but no margin of safety. Now let's say Apple generates $6.50 per share in cash flow and grows at 4% annually. With the same 10% discount rate, Apple might be worth around $108 per share. At $211, Apple would be expensive. But at $150, that's a different story for dividend investing. The beautiful thing about DCF is it forces you to think like a business owner, not a stock trader. You're asking, what will this company actually generate in cash over the next decade? This is crucial for building passive income through smart asset allocation, something Harry never considered. But there's one problem with both PE ratios and DCF analysis. Method 3. The PEG ratio. Growth changes everything. This is where most people's financial goals fall apart. They look at PE ratios in isolation without considering growth investing potential. Tesla's PE of 177 looks insane until you consider growth. If Tesla's earnings grow 50% annually for the next few years, that PE of 177 suddenly becomes a PE of 88, then 29, then 10. The PEG formula, PE ratio divided by annual earnings growth rate equals PEG ratio. A PEG ratio under 1.0 suggests the stock might be undervalued. Over 2.0 suggests it might be overvalued for growth stocks. Think of it like comparing two restaurants for sale. Restaurant A costs $300,000 and makes $10,000 profit annually. PE of 30, but its profits are growing 30% per year. Restaurant B also costs $300,000 and makes $15,000 profit annually. PE of 20, but its profits only grow 5% per year. Restaurant A has a PEG of 1.0, 30 divided by 30, while Restaurant B has a PEG of 4.0, 20 divided by 5. Even though Restaurant A looks more expensive on a PE basis, it's actually the better deal when you factor in growth. That's the power of the PEG ratio. Tesla's PEG might be around 3.5, 177 divided by 50% growth. That's expensive. Apple's PEG might be around 3.3, 33 divided by 10% growth. Also expensive. And this brings us to the uncomfortable truth about today's market for retirement savings. The current market reality, 2025. As I'm recording this, we're in what might be one of the most expensive markets in history for investment portfolios. The 10-year Treasury yields 4.34%. That's your risk-free return. When stocks carry massive risk and only offer similar returns, that's a warning signal for portfolio management. Most quality companies are trading at PE ratios that assume perfect execution for the next decade. There's very little margin of safety built into current prices. But here's what this means for your wealth management and tax-advantaged accounts. How Harry should actually invest. Remember Harry's $8 stock? Here's what he should have done. Calculate the PE ratio. If earnings are $0.40 per share, that's a PE of 20. Not terrible, but not cheap. Estimate future cash flows. Can this company grow earnings 15% annually? If not, Harry's probably overpaying. Check the PEG ratio. With 8% growth, that's a PEG of 2.5. Expensive for conservative investing. Compared to alternatives, at 4.34% Treasury yields, Harry needs stocks to deliver significantly higher returns to justify the risk. Instead of buying individual expensive stocks, Harry's money management should focus on low-cost index funds for diversification, dividend growth stocks trading below historical PE ratios, building passive income streams through REITs in tax-deferred accounts, international diversification where valuations are more reasonable. The three-question framework. Harry needed before Harry buys any stock for his investment account, he should ask, What am I actually buying? Not shares, but ownership in a business. What does that business do? How does it make money? This is Due Diligence 101. What's a fair price? Use PE ratios, DCF analysis, and PG ratios. Compare to history and competitors. This is valuation analysis. What's my margin of safety? In today's expensive market, Harry needs stocks trading at least 20 to 30% below fair value for risk-adjusted returns. Here's the thing. Most YouTube finance channels won't tell you about financial markets. The uncomfortable truth about today's market. Right now, in 2025, finding cheap stocks is like finding parking spots in Manhattan on Christmas Eve. They exist, but you're going to have to work for it. The S&P 500 is trading 60 to 70% above historical averages. Most quality companies are priced for perfection. Compound growth works best when you buy assets cheap, but everything's expensive. This doesn't mean Harry should stop investing in his 401k or IRA accounts. It means be pickier. Focus on systematic investing rather than stock picking. Build your financial security around index funds and dividend growth rather than hunting for the next Tesla. And if you're wondering what I'm personally doing in this market for estate planning, I'm focusing on high-yield dividend ETFs like SCHD and JEPI, steady passive income streams, international stocks, cheaper valuations, and keeping more cash than usual in high-yield savings accounts at 4.5%. Because sometimes the best investment strategy is patience for long-term wealth building. Harry learned this lesson the hard way. His $8 steal is now worth $6. Meanwhile, the investors who waited, who understood valuation, who focused on building sustainable wealth accumulation systems, they're the ones building real financial independence. Don't be like the old Harry. Be like the investor who understands that in the stock market, price is what you pay, but value is what you get. And right now, most people are paying way too much for their investment returns. This kind of market analysis is exactly what separates successful investors from everyone else. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to subscribe for more videos breaking down financial planning strategies that actually work. And drop a comment below. Are you seeing any reasonably priced stocks in today's market? I read every comment and love hearing your thoughts. Remember, in investing, the most expensive mistake isn't losing money on a bad stock. It's missing out on compound interest because you bought everything when it was expensive.